Somewhere on the northeastern edge of a small Japanese island, a wooden gate marks the beginning of a walk that has drawn pilgrims for more than 1,000 years. A 1,200-kilometer loop, touching 88 temples, 4 provinces, mountains, coastlines, and the lingering presence of one of Japan's most revered monks. Most who pass through this gate will spend the next month and a half of their lives completing what they start here. You're about to take your first steps. Welcome to Walking Tour of Japan, a podcast dedicated to bringing you a new adventure somewhere in Japan with every episode. Each week we'll travel to a different destination, from ancient temples and stunning gardens to fascinating cities, historic landmarks, and hidden gems tucked away across this incredible country. If you're gearing up for your own trip, head over to northstartravelers.com, where you'll find gear recommendations to help you travel smarter, plus a full list of our other podcast shows covering destinations around the world. If you love discovering new places and planning your next adventure, follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leaving a positive review goes a long way in helping others find it. Now let's explore Japan. You're standing on a quiet street in the town of Naruto in Tokushima Prefecture, at the northeastern corner of the island of Shikoku. Ahead of you, a 2-story gate rises above the road, its dark wood weathered by centuries of salt air blowing in from the nearby coast. This is Ryōzen-ji, and though it's a modest temple by Japanese standards, it holds an outsized place in the country's spiritual geography. This is temple number 1, the traditional starting point of the Shikoku pilgrimage, a circuit of 88 temples that has been walked, biked, and driven by the faithful and the curious alike since long before anyone thought to count the centuries. You pass beneath the gate, and 2 carved guardian figures loom on either side, muscles frozen mid-flex, faces locked in expressions meant to frighten away anything that shouldn't cross this threshold. This is the Niomon Gate, and stepping through it is the closest thing this pilgrimage has to a starting line. Once you're on the other side, you're no longer just a visitor. You're what the Japanese call a henro, a pilgrim. The story of how this place became the beginning of such an enormous journey goes back to the 8th century, when a monk named Gyoki is said to have founded a temple here at the direction of Emperor Shomu. But the person who truly shaped this place, and the entire pilgrimage that follows it, didn't arrive until decades later. His name was Kukai, though after his death he'd be given the honorific title Kobo Daishi, and today people across Shikoku still speak of him with the familiar warmth of someone they might run into on the road. Kukai was born on this island, not far from here, and as a young man he left for the capital to study, then traveled all the way to Tang Dynasty China to deepen his understanding of Buddhism. When he returned to Japan, he founded the Shingon School of Esoteric Buddhism and spent time training, meditating, and teaching at sites across Shikoku, many of which would later become the 88 temples of this pilgrimage. He's said to have arrived at this temple in the year 815, and to have carved a statue of the Buddha that still resides here unseen by the public in the temple's inner hall. As you move further into the temple grounds, take a moment at the stone basin just to your left, where a carved figure of Kannon watches over the water. Visitors come to this particular Kannon not just for blessings on relationships, but for good fortune of nearly every kind: health, work, and the everyday luck that makes a long journey easier. Diagonally behind it stands a 2-story pagoda. Built sometime in the early 1400s, its dark tiled roofs stacked like something out of a woodblock print. It's one of the more photographed corners of the temple, and if you catch it in soft morning light, it's easy to see why. Continue toward the main hall, and you'll notice something the other 87 temples on this pilgrimage don't have quite the same version of: a shop, or really 2 of them, doing brisk business in white robes, conical straw hats, wooden walking sticks, and blank stamp books. This is where most pilgrims outfit themselves before setting out, and it's worth pausing here even if you have no intention of walking the full route. The white clothing dates back centuries and carries a double meaning. It represents purity, but it was also once worn as a kind of death shroud, a quiet acknowledgement that a pilgrim setting out on foot across an entire island might not survive the journey. These days, the walk is safer, but the tradition and the symbolism remain. As you step inside the main worship hall, the air shifts, cooler, dimmer, layered with the smell of incense that's been burning in this spot for longer than anyone can say. Overhead, a ceiling painting shows a dragon coiled and writhing across the wood, its presence meant to watch over everyone who comes to pray beneath it. This is where pilgrims receive their first stamp, a red seal, and a few lines of elegant calligraphy pressed into the blank book, many of them just purchased outside. By the time a walker finishes all 88 temples, that book will be a small, dense record of the entire journey, one stamp at a time. Leaving the main hall behind, you make your way toward the Daishi Hall, a smaller structure dedicated specifically to Kukai himself. Every temple on this pilgrimage has one of these halls, regardless of which Buddhist sect the temple otherwise belongs to, because the thread that ties this entire circuit together isn't really about any single temple's history. It's about Kukai's presence, believed by many pilgrims to walk beside them the entire way. There's a saying you'll hear often on Shikoku, Dogyo Ninin, 2 people, 1 practice. The idea is that no pilgrim ever walks alone. If you have a little more time before moving on, it's worth wandering to the northern edge of the temple grounds and looking toward Mount Oasa, a peak that rises about 2 kilometers away. Long before Buddhism arrived in Japan, this mountain was already considered sacred, home to a native deity associated with the sun and the eagle. When Buddhist teachings took root here, someone noticed the resemblance between that old mountain deity's name and Vulture Peak, the mountain in India where the historical Buddha is said to have delivered some of his most important teachings. That kind of layering, old beliefs quietly folded into new ones rather than erased by them, is something you'll notice again and again as you make your way through Shikoku. From here, the real scale of what begins at this gate becomes worth sitting with for a moment. The full pilgrimage stretches across all 4 of Shikoku's provinces, and traditionally, each one carries its own meaning. Tokushima, where you're standing now, represents awakening. Kochi, further south, is the province of ascetic training. Ehime, along the western coast, represents enlightenment, and Kagawa, the final stretch, is nirvana. A walking pilgrim covers roughly 1,200 kilometers to complete the full loop, a journey that typically takes somewhere between 30 and 60 days, moving through fishing villages, mountain forests, busy highways, and quiet coastal roads, before eventually looping back toward the same corner of the island. Most people, understandably, don't have 2 months to spare, and that's part of what makes this pilgrimage unusual. There's no single correct way to do it. Some come for a single day and walk to just a few temples. Others return year after year, chipping away at the full circuit, a handful of temples at a time. If you only have today, simply spending unhurried time here at Temple 1, watching pilgrims arrive with empty stamp books and nervous energy, or return years later with worn books and quiet satisfaction, tells you almost everything you need to know about what this place means. One thing seasoned henro will tell you: come early if you can. The temple opens at 8 in the morning, and arriving close to that time means you'll share the grounds with far fewer people, just the soft sound of the pagoda's wind bells and the occasional pilgrim quietly reciting a sutra in front of the main hall. It's also worth knowing that while walking the entire pilgrimage is the traditional approach, plenty of pilgrims today complete sections by car, bicycle, or bus, then return another year to pick up where they left off. So don't feel that today's visit has to be all or nothing. As you make your way back toward the gate to exit, keep an eye out for a small, easily missed building near the temple office. The walking pilgrim's logbook is kept here, and those about to set off on foot for the full circuit sign it before they go. There's something quietly moving about a book filled with names and dates stretching back years, each one representing someone who stood exactly where you're standing and decided to start walking. Before you leave, turn back for one last look at the pagoda and the gate beyond it. Pilgrims who complete the entire circuit sometimes return to the same spot to give thanks, closing the circle where it began. You don't need to walk the whole island to understand the pull of that idea. Somewhere between the incense, the dragon overhead, and the quiet company of a monk who's been gone for over 1,000 years but is still, in a sense, walked with, this small temple in Naruto holds the feeling of every journey's first step: uncertain, a little heavy, and completely worth taking. Just steps from the temple gate, Ichifuji serves comforting Japanese home-style dishes in a relaxed setting that's popular with pilgrims fueling up before the road. For something warming and simple, Funamoto Udon Taima is a short walk away and specializes in the thick, chewy udon noodles Tokushima does so well. If you're looking for a quick bite near the gate itself, Monzen Ichibangai Kaze sits right at the temple's doorstep and is an easy stop for a casual snack before or after your visit. A short trip from Ryozen-ji, the Naruto Whirlpools swirl in the strait between Shikoku and Awaji Island. These are among the largest tidal whirlpools in the world and best viewed at peak tide from a sightseeing boat or the glass-floored walkway above. The Otsuka Museum of Art, Japan's largest art museum, houses life-size ceramic reproductions of famous Western masterpieces, from the Sistine Chapel ceiling to works spanning antiquity to the 20th century. Oasahiko Shrine, one of Tokushima's most important Shinto shrines, sits near the base of Mount Oasa and offers a quiet, forested counterpoint to the Buddhist temples along the pilgrimage route. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Before you go, a few quick things. Subscribe so you never miss a destination. Leave us a positive review to help others find the show, and share this episode with someone who loves exploring Japan. And if you're hungry for more adventures beyond Japan, visit northstartravelers.com to explore our other podcast shows and browse gear recommendations for wherever your next journey takes you. Your support means the world and keeps these adventures coming. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next walk.